But let's talk about fucking Cuphead. This is me in my first 15 minutes or so of Cuphead, and while I do have some complaints about it, good lord, do I love this game. I probably ended up streaming most of it, which is crazy, because I streamed the first night on the TGF channel, and then on my own channel I streamed for 2 nights, and oh my god, I love this game. It goes so beyond, like, this is one of those things where I was like, oh, it looks cool, whatever, and then the whole controversy came out. And it actually made me interested in the game, and it is now one of my top 5 games of the year, and that's like by fucking far. This is quite the damn achievement, especially to someone like me who is not a Contra or a Metal Slug type of player. But I love those 2D platformers, and this is one of the platforming levels. This is the infamous one that a certain Dean got stuck on, but I can understand. It did take me 10 or so minutes to beat this level. I can understand. There are so many things you learn in the process of the game, and so many of these levels are so short, where it's 2 minutes, right? But you'll play it for 45 minutes to get to the end, to understand this is the point where that guy does this, and if I shoot that there, okay, then I can get through there, and then if I dodge here and get that collectible, then I dodge over here and shoot that guy, shoot this guy, switch weapons, do the ultimate move here. It's this weird chess match in it, because you only have 3 HP. On the third hit, you die. Like that. Oh, I'm cut off with the thing. A hand. You die there. So it's tough. And it is very tough. There are easy modes for the bosses. I never tried them. Not because I'm bragging, but normal was appropriate enough. But there is an easy mode. I don't know how much easier it is. But you get there, and each of these bosses has stages. And the bulk of the game are these bosses, and we'll get to one in a second, and they are beautiful. Everything in this game is so damn beautiful, from just the look itself, but the animation, the way some of these bosses come out and they're like, and do their weird twitchy fingers. The final boss is the devil, and he does this thing at the very beginning where he like leans in towards you, and his eyes real big, and in his eye is like silhouette of a cup, and an axe comes and just chops the cup in half and like into a bunch of pieces, and then he bends away, and it's beautiful, and it's so damn creative. The entire game is filled with these creative moments. So I'll give an example while talking about the boss fights and how great they are. This is one of the later boss fights, but we're just going to use it as an example. Each boss is broken up into several different forms and stages that have various strategies. You know, you'll get to the next phase, and it's like, oh, well, now it transformed, and I don't know what to do. So this is the train boss towards the end. So you're on this train cart, right? And you can hit the train cart to move to the middle of the screen, to the right of the screen, and back and forth. And you're in control of it more or less. The boss will also affect it if you don't. I'm changing the controls because the controls suck. The boss will do it to mess with you, but you're on a train chasing after the train. You're at the caboose. Out of the back of the train is this ghost with no eyes, and he's taking his hands and like I think putting them into his chest or in his head somewhere, and he's throwing eyeballs at you. And that's what he's doing. And you just have to keep shooting him. And you're on this little platform. And there's these little pumpkins flying overhead that are dropping skulls, trying to move the platform to screw you up. That's all going on. That's the first form. Okay. Then the second form, the train moves forward again. Now a giant skeleton busts out of the train in one of the train cars. And there's 2 train cars also. And his arms come out. And his arms are attacking, and now you gotta shoot his head, avoid his arms, and avoid the pumpkins that are still dropping things to mess with you. Then, the next form, the third form, because we're not done yet, is these weird creatures come out of the train car again, and in the middle is the smokestacks, and they're shooting out ghosts that home at you. And if you kill the ghosts, they drop something that'll hit the cart and move the cart and screw you up. So you gotta watch out that. You also gotta kill the ghosts and make sure they don't die in the wrong spot to move you out of the way, because you're still fighting these 2 tentacle demons coming out of a train. Then the train moves to the front, the fourth and final form. It moves to the front. I think that the caboose or whatever, no, the caboose is the back of the train. The engine pops off the train, is running, I think it was, next to you, in front of you, and you gotta hit its tail, the tail of the train, to open up its like heart, its thing over its heart to shoot it, where the coal goes in. It's absolutely insane. And I can only, describing that sounds like I've lost my damn mind, but every single boss is that damn creative. There's the cake queen lady who's like, oh, here's a giant candy corn to fight. Here's a gobstopper. Here's a waffle. And each has their own strategy and their own attacks and their own ways to be better and to learn their moves. And the whole game is designed around learning and just pattern recognition. There's a couple bosses in the second world that are incredible for that. The one in the roller coaster area. There's even, haven't even brought it up yet, there's ones where you're doing your little ship and you're shooting because you're a little ship, Cuphead. And that's awesome as well. And those are very difficult. And they have their own phases. There's one against a giant robot and he's got an antenna and he's got these weird chest thing. It's shooting missiles at you and you gotta control all of these things. Then his head pops off of the robot and you're fighting the head and it's flying all around. There's bombs everywhere. And then the end is the weird Dr. Lightman who created the robot comes out and he's shooting this bullet hell nonsense at you. And it's incredible. It's so damn creative and so damn fun to learn each part. Even when I'm stuck on a boss for 45 minutes, which did happen sometimes. Even when I fought the final boss for 2.5 hours, which is on my Twitch, which is, good lord, too much. That is too much to be fighting the final boss. But it was so much fun. The little gripes I have with it are that there's kind of a problem with the RNG nature of some of these fights. So one of them, the game's primarily all these fights anyway. One of them is on this roller coaster, and you can see the roller coaster coming in the background. You know, it's like choo choo choo. That's the sound roller coasters make. And you can see it coming, and you're like, okay, there it goes. And here it is on the stage, and you have to jump over the front of it, jump over the passengers so you don't get hurt, right? And you can get completely screwed over by some of these attacks it's doing, where the boss will come on the side of the screen, he'll drop down, he'll drop like 6 musical notes in the way, and if you're trying to jump over an oncoming train or a roller coaster, you get just fucked over. You can't avoid it. So there are certain instances like that where the variable elements overlap on each other, and like I don't know how to avoid that. There's no way to control that necessarily. It just takes a little bit of luck. But by and large, most of the fights don't do that, and it has a really nice ramping. You'll see me struggle against this fight, which is so simple. It's just a forest against a blob. And it becomes later on where you're fighting a giant dragon and there's clouds and the clouds are scrolling. So you have to keep hopping on the clouds as you fight the dragon, or you'll be hopping up a beehive as this crazy bee lady is doing all these things. And they're all so cool and memorable. Like you could show me a picture of any of them and I'd be like, I remember that form. I remember exactly that move. It was as annoying as it can be when you're surprised by something and it's like, fuck, I didn't know that was going to come out. Then you learn what it's doing. You learn exactly the thing you need to do. It does this, I dodge left. I know what to do. You put all that knowledge layered and layered and layered, because it's not easy to avoid all these attacks. You know, you'll be going through and sometimes you'll get halfway through a fight, your first attempt, and you're like, wow, I did really good. And then you'll get stuck on the first form or get stuck on the second form forever. And then by the time you get to the end and you're just dodging every move, you can do the half of the fight without blinking. It's just whatever. And then you're chipping away at it. It's like whittling or something. I don't know. Is it like whittling? Maybe it's like whittling if at the very end of the whittle, you could accidentally screw it up and have to start over. But eventually, you're really good at making a spoon, whatever it is you whittle. I don't know. What do you whittle? You're making a spoon out of wood because it's like 1420 or something. And you get to the end and you screw up the spoon. But now you know how to make the spoon so well. And it's such a surprise to me how much I loved it. Even the platforming sections, even the ones where I started them and was like, this level is impossible. I never want to do this again. I hate it. I don't get it. You go back you try again, you keep learning it, and then you realize like, oh, I just dodged this way, and then I can exploit this weakness. Like, it's such that reward that I haven't felt really, not to invoke Dark Souls, but really since the early days of Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, whereas like I don't know what any of this is, what any of this means. Yeah, you're whittling Spoonhead. He's the sequel character. He's Cuphead and Mugman's daughter, Spoonhead. None of it makes sense. But these days of Demon Souls where you're learning things and you're learning how to exploit them and be like, okay, this guy's weak to fire, I'm going to use fire. I didn't know that to start. I'm going to try this thing. And you're going to learn the weaknesses. And you're going to learn it through trial and error. And so many of these fights, being that there are 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different stages that are varied in terms of like strategy, but also in terms of what they look like in such amazing, interesting ways. Each one of them could be their own fight. Like in a lesser game, stage 1 would just be the fight, right? And then stage 2 would be a separate boss, and stage 3 would be a separate boss, but it combines it all together, and it demands you to be not crazy good, just good enough that when you get to the end, you've struggled and you've overcome it. It has that feeling that the Souls games have. So goddamn good. I love Cuphead. It does have problems, like I said, mainly the controls. The default controls are trash. They're so utterly bad. I cannot believe they just like, oh, let's ship the game with the worst control scheme where you have to use all the face buttons and there's just like 6 triggers we're not using. Okay. Didn't think that one through, did you? But you could fix that. And then the RNG, besides that, everything else is awesome. These side-scrolling segments, which I think I keep trying to touch on and then I get distracted, are awesome. Some of them end with like little mini boss fights. There's ones where you're running away from a giant ogre who's a pain in the ass. There's not that many of them. There's 6, I think. Yeah, there's 6 in the entire game. And they're pretty well perfect. They're loosely tied to what you're doing, very loosely. This is in a grass field, so this is the grass level. You know, it's not like 1-to-1. You're not going to do the water level and then have a water boss. It doesn't need that though. It doesn't need that. It didn't even need any of that. It could have been half. The game is incredible, but it is super, super damn difficult, and I think that does need to be stressed. It is one of those games where if you don't want to try a boss fight for 15-20 minutes and die over and over again, then this isn't for you. There's some fights even towards the end that took me 10-15 minutes to beat, which was easy. Those were easy fights. And then there was the one like the final boss, so it was 2.5 hours. That was the longest one. Others that were long were the annoying amusement car one that was like 50 minutes to get through because it's RNG garbage. But you have the tools. It gives you these tonics and things you can equip. Like, oh, you get 2 more hearts, but you do less damage. Or you get 1 heart, you do less damage. Or here's different guns to use. There's like a spread shot. There's a homing missile, which is invaluable, especially during some of these bosses where you're just trying to platform and survive. You can equip the homing shot and then just kind of wait it out. There's 6 different weapons. I believe there's 6 different badges, which are, I picked the one that parries. Oh, I didn't even talk about parries. So there's something that you maybe won't notice if you've just been casually looking at this game. There's pink stuff, haha, that will show up in the bosses mixed in with like, oh, I'm going to fire 6 bolts of lightning at you. Well, why are they all blue but one of them's pink? Well, the pink one can be parried, and the parry goes to your magic meter, essentially. You have 5 cards. Once you get to 5 cards, you can do a super move, or you can just use 1 card for 1 super move. So there's strategy there, because you can't develop more than 5 cards. You get this super also by shooting things. So that's there. Each different gun, or whatever you want to call it, has a different move. There's 3 different supers. 2 of them are kind of trash. So I really picked the one. But the guns themselves, using all that, awesome. Just incredible, incredible work. So much strategy that you can do with all of it. A solid, fun game. And a really fun game that doesn't have double jump. I don't know why I just thought to put that out there. No double jump. Ton of fun. Can't recommend Cuphead higher. Really can't. Really, really can't. I don't know if I'll beat this in my thing. He punches. Look at me. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this game. Look at that. Just terrible. No, just terrible. But I did beat him. I did beat all the bosses. I did beat all the levels. And I did love it. Love it. That's the final form. Look how different the final form is in terms of strategy and visual appearance. Why'd I stand still? I'm not good at games, so if I can do it, you can do it too. I think I die here. Wait for it. Wait for me to die. Yeah. Idiot.